going to be in 1 Corinthians today, chapter 10, 31 through 33, and then right into 11:1, because I believe that should be in the 10th chapter. So I don't know why it's 11:1, because it belongs there, but that's how the Bible's edited, so I'm not going to argue with it. Background of Corinthians, the town of Corinth, a lot of idol worship, a lot of temples with prostitution going on. I just said prostitution in church. But this is what was going on in that city. There was a lot of idol worship. The Greeks worshipped many gods, right? So they always had gods in their house that they represented, gods that protected their city. They just had multiple gods, So Paul's picking up here talking about that, because as we do communion and the Lord's Supper, they would do feasts to idols with their food, right? So there's a big controversy back then, like, we can't eat the meat. It was offered to these idols. So Paul had to, he was a spiritual father to them, so he would mentor them, disciple them, and tell them, it's meat. If you're not in the act of offering the meat to an idol, it's just meat, right? Saying it's not evil. So he's saying, go ahead and eat it. Just don't ask, right? That doesn't sound like good advice, does it? If we said that, what? But he's saying, don't worry about that. But he's also saying, make sure you worry about other people too, because some people may be weak in their faith. And it might wear on their conscience, so be aware of that as well. So if somebody says it's offered to an idol and it hurts their faith, don't do it. And that's where we get into all things may be lawful, but not all things are profitable or build up the body, I mean, the buffet, it's lawful for me to eat as much as I want, but it's not really profitable. Even though it was $5.99 when I went to Ponderosa, Things are lawful, but not always profitable. So Paul picked, after going through these things and telling us to care for each other, and I think he's really setting the groundwork for leadership. We'll pick up in verse 31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greeks, even as I try to please everyone in every way, for I'm not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that they may be saved. 11:1. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. See, now you can kind of see where that 11:1 kind of just goes in there, because he's just going back on it. He's saying, this is what I do, follow me. But he goes in at the beginning and he says, you know how you can care for each other? He says, do everything for the glory of God. He kind of just sums it up. Whatever you eat, you drink, whatever you do it for the glory of God. And it kind of takes away all that, hurting your brothers and your sisters if you're doing it for the glory of God. See, but I think what also he was trying to hit on here is sometimes we get in the mindset of what can I do and what can't I do, right? What can I get away with and still be a Christian, right? That's how we are sometimes. Can I just do this much, God, and still be Christian, right? We get into almost legalism. And he's saying, whatever you do it to the glory of God. So it doesn't become a list of rules. It becomes, does it glorify God in your life, right? And that makes it so much easier, because rules are hard to follow. But if you're doing things to follow God for His glory, it doesn't make it a rule anymore. You're not worried about what can I get with, what can I get away with. You're worried about, does it please the Father? Does it cause others to stumble? Does it build other people up? See, he's saying, don't try to cause anybody else to stumble when you glorify glorify God, it takes that out. See, Paul says he tries to please. We're not going to please everyone, right? It's totally impossible. Paul said be all things to all people, but Paul wasn't even all things to all people, right? He told Timothy, go home, or Mark to go home, not Timothy. Mark was crying, and he said, go home, Mark. You're not coming on a mission with me. But I think it's about glorifying God, really. That's what Paul was about. That's what he was trying to please people for the glory of God. His main heart was, I want to see people saved. So whether maybe I can do that, but if it hurts you, I'm not going to do it. See, he got aware of self-interest, He started being a real leader, right? He said, I can do these things, but I'm about the group. Like Cain and Abel, am I my brother's keeper? Right? Are we? Yes, we are. We got to do the good for the group. And that's tough sometimes because we live in a society that it's about us. We got to take care of me first. It's not about everybody else. If I can take care of myself, then maybe I'll think about you. And the real heart of the passage is this 11:1. Is really when I want to dig in with leadership and really discipleship. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. What a bold saying he came out with right there. I mean, how many people you hear say that? Paul says it numerous times through the New Testament. Follow my example. Follow me as I follow Christ. Very important, as I follow Christ. But it was all about really that follow me really comes from a word that's really where we get our word mimic. So other translations say imitate me as I imitate Christ. Because when you really look at it, we're imitators, right? We've all imitated somebody at some time, right? We imitate, we recite songs. We see things that people wear, we imitate that. I wear whatever fits because I don't got much choice these days. But we imitate fashions, we imitate trends, we imitate lifestyles. We imitate all types of things. Is that wrong? No, I'm not saying we're robots. We have a choice to what we pick up on, right? But I'm saying sometime we follow somebody, we imitate something. We got to realize that. And Paul's talking about it, imitate me. This is what, because we're going to be imitated. Jesus was an imitator, right? I just think that's awesome because we're like, we shouldn't follow people. We don't follow people. We follow Christ, first off. But we do have examples, right? God's called us to be ambassadors for Christ, right? So we gotta lead. We gotta set an example, right? Jesus, why did you heal somebody on the Sabbath? It's not lawful, right? How did you do that? Where did that power come from? Why do you do these works? Why do you heal the blind? What did Jesus say? His response was, I only do what I see the Father doing. So Jesus himself was an imitator. So for us to be disciples of Christ, we got to imitate him, right? To imitate the path he set before us. Went outside the other day. I was at work, and the snow was like this deep in my yard. Something got stuck in the driveway, so I had to go up through the yard. So, of course, my legs were wet. Snow was up in my pants. I mean, it was deep. I'm like, man, nobody comes out here. It was way out there. Got inside, forgot something in the car. Isn't that how it works? So I went back out. So you know what I did? I went right in my old footsteps, right? And God just started speaking to me then and saying, this is what it means to be a leader. You get to go back and follow somebody's footsteps. See, when you lead, you get the nasty part, right? criticism